Hey guys, and welcome to PlayStation Access. My name is Holly. Now, I don't have one of my normal team members with me because I've sort of got someone extra special. I am joined by Brian, who is creative director on Marvel Spider-Man, and you're going to be telling us a little bit about some of the gameplay footage we're seeing?
Yeah, so this is from the first couple hours of the game. This is a little bit further along. Pete has kind of defeated Fisk, and now we're seeing the introduction of a new threat in the city, the Inner Demons. So he's made his way to this art gallery where the demons are basically using their force to get an item from this gallery manager.
So this is some of the stealth?
Yeah,
We've mentioned stealth mechanics in the past.
Yeah, so actually this is one of the missions where we kind of start to introduce some of the more stealth mechanics in the game. So obviously in a lot of situations you can kind of jump down and fight, but in this kind of one, this is where we kind of teach you can go a little bit slower. So in this situation here, you can actually use your web shooters to get an enemy's attention. So you shoot it down the ground, he'll start to kind of hear the sound, notice over, and that kind of opens up for an opportunity to do a takedown move. So you'll do a little perch takedown move here, and he kind of web cocoons them up.
So that's not linear, like that was your choice to do that?
Yeah, I mean, in this mission we kind of suggest to do that, but in the course of the game you can, there'll be like, there's a mission a couple missions later where we can let you do that. Oh, in this situation you can do it from a
that's
event.
so cool.
Yeah. And then, so you can kind of do perch takedowns, you can do one from event, and then of course if a guy's walking, you can walk from behind if you're being quiet, and you can also do like takedown moves from behind. So we have stuff from above, from below, and on the same level.
I guess what's important as well is there's a mix, right? Because it's not just about web shooting. The combat is also really, really fluid. Yeah. I mean, we really want the character is very acrobatic. Whether we're talking about combat traversal, we kind of use terms like fluidity, flow, and we want. Those are bingo words.
I know. And so in this situation, you can actually use your webs on certain environment items that will kind of draw people's attention. So right now in this situation, he has two. If you ping the world, you'll see that little danger sign. So it actually shows the state at which the enemy is in. Okay. And then you can actually use an item to get one guy to turn around. He starts to check it out, and now you can actually take out this enemy. So it's kind of a way to break up the, say if there's guys are in a situation where you can stealthily take them out right away, you can kind of create that opportunity just like you did there. Okay, so now here's the thing that makes Spider-Man traversal.
This is what everybody went wild for when this was announced. Yeah.
Well, of course, now as I say that, he's picking up a backpack. So in the world, there'll be a bunch of different backpacks in the world, and what's really cool is that people want to know like what's the history of our Spider-Man, and what you do is when you pick up these items, it'll actually reveal an item in the backpack, and you'll actually, if you go to the pause menu, Pete will actually talk about that item, so you get a better, a little more backstory about our Spider-Man.
Oh, look at this. I mean, will people recognize landmarks?
Yes, we have both landmarks that if you've been in New York City, they'll be familiar with, like Grand Central Terminal, but we also have familiar Marvel landmarks like Avengers Tower and such. Yeah.
And you'll be able to climb those?
Yes. Okay, so here's something I want to show.
Right.
So now you can actually, we have an upgrade where you can unlock the ability to do tricks in the game. So we have a bunch of different tricks. People have been asking for more swing animations. Well, here you go. So you'll be able to combo different moves together and get a little XP boost for doing that. So it's another way to upgrade your character and also look pretty cool while swinging.
Is it just a button combination that you press?
Yeah. You'll have different button combinations, and it's just like it's that plus a little controller input, and yeah.
That looks really, really cool.
Yeah, and it definitely adds a little more. You can have a little more fun with traversal. It's already pretty fun, but that's something we've never shown up until now. Everybody keeps asking if there's even more things to do in traversal, and I'm like, just wait. Here we go. So
with traversal, then, if you're just new to the game, can you just start and look this cool from the beginning? Or
you can look pretty cool. I mean, I would say that I think one of the things I'm really excited about is that players can pretty much pick up the game and swing and feel like Spider-Man right away. But over the course of time, they're going to learn the ins and outs of wall run and perch jumps and tricks, and to look much more stylish as they swing around the city.
So
another thing is too is, like you said, there's multiple times a day. So we have sunset, we have nighttime, we have daytime, we have a little more overcast and raining with weather. So there will be multiple times a day. A lot of people wonder about that. So we will have fully supported. And we use it as a narrative device. We do want certain things to be communicated, the tone of the game, where you are in the story, and lighting goes a long way with that.
So is it a day-night cycle, but then you'll force it into certain
so
times?
So it's not a day-night cycle. We actually have multiple times a day that we switch upon during during the main story. And then, but once you do finish the game, finish the main story, you actually can go to research stations and change it to any time of day.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just sort of a little bit of the rain, I think, there. This is beautiful.
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing is, we definitely want you to feel like you never have to slow down if you don't want to. So if you hit an item, you hit a wall, you can run up it. If you run to a car, you can leap over it. You know, we added some parkour elements, whether you're on the ground or on a rooftop, that lets you just keep going. We don't have fall damage. You know, hey, we've been saying this Spider-Man's been doing it for 8 years. He doesn't need to take damage. So also, it can be sometimes a little bit frustrating. Okay, so here's actually, when you're swimming around, there'll be a bunch of crimes in the game. This is a car chase. And as you can see, all the pedestrians on the sidewalk are running away. They're all reacting.
Camera angle's great.
Yeah, it's really cool, very cinematic. And what's really great about the crime system is that as you progress in the game, new crime types will become available. So like they'll basically, they'll get more and more severe as you go deeper into the main story, because the story gets much more dangerous. And of course, here's combat. You know, like we talked a lot about, is this idea of an acrobatic improviser, using webs, using your gadgets. I mean, you can see he looks like a ping pong ball, like in the environment. Like we really wanted to be able to dodge, flip, bounce, jump, swing, everything you could possibly want to do, and really give players a lot of opportunities to swing, to experiment in the world. A lot of environment interactions, that lead to different effects, like electricity. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. I think, from a development standpoint, I got to give the combat team a lot of credit, because they really went much deeper with the combat system than I ever believed we thought we would originally. So
I saw earlier on bonus objectives. How do they work?
Yeah, so certain crimes you'll see, basically you get sub-objectives. So if you complete those sub-objectives, you'll actually get more crafting currency, so you can craft gadgets, gadget upgrades, suits, and suit mods. So it's kind of like hey, you can just stop the crime, or you can stop the crime with a little bit more flair, and you'll get rewarded for it. So this is actually a cinematic from the beginning of the game, where Pete wakes up that morning with hey, there's going to be a raid on Fisk Tower. Captain Yuri Watanabe says, all right, come help me out. And you'll notice he's wearing
that suit.
His classic suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the advanced suit, the white spider suit, doesn't come on board till later in the game. And when you play the game, you'll find out how it gets crafted. But yeah, and so this is the opening of the game, is basically you taking down the big bad of the world, which is Wilson Fisk. So this is a pretty awesome opening. This is where you'll kind of, as you swing the Fisk Tower, you'll get the basics for traversal, and as you're moving your way through Fisk Tower, you'll kind of get the basics of combat.
So really, the word tutorial sometimes is a bit of a dirty word, but really this is where you're learning.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie and say it's not a tutorial in some aspects.
You've got to learn.
You got to learn somehow, and I think that's something we try to find that balance between making the opening feel epic and cool, but at the same time making sure you understand the ins and outs, the basics of our Spider-Man.
But when we were chatting earlier, you were saying, he has been Spider-Man for 8 years, so you're not having to do that thing where he's just learning his powers and learning. You're like, you can just go in and be a badass. You're 8 years into this.
Yeah, I mean, it's that balance between okay, he's been Spider-Man for 8 years, but you've been Spider-Man for about maybe
8 minutes.
8 minutes, 8 minutes at this point. So it's finding that balance. So this is after you kind of finish the atrium, you're gonna make your way up Fisk Tower, and what I love here is that so he has an initial call with Yuri, and of course even in interiors he'll use his wall crawl. So he'll be
you just automatic, run up.
You just basically run up and start. He'll just which one you start going, and then you can even he starts wall running. He starts wall running up this area. And so he's getting an update from you right now of what's going on in the outside, what's going on in what he wants him to do on inside Fisk Tower, because basically they're worried he's gonna skip town, so they're trying to get to him before he does this. But what I really love is I talk a lot about the idea of worlds colliding. So during this part, all of a sudden Aunt May calls, and
this is just a normal call.
This normal call, and she asks what the racket is, and he just says basically, I'm watching a superhero movie, and he continues the conversation while he's fighting bad guys. Okay, that's an interesting idea. Sorry to cut it off.
No, go.
Cut myself off. You can kind of ping the world, and he can see through walls. He can see the enemy threats. You'll see him basically drop in on some Fisk guys who are trying to basically wipe a bunch of data and Soren has to stop them before the data gets all erased. So you can see a lot of environment interactions. We try to make sure that not only are you paying attention to the enemies, but also your surroundings in terms of what you can use to your advantage.
So when you're using stuff to your advantage, like when you are grabbing stuff and swinging it around, you control that swing, or is that movement is just very pre-programmed?
You actually can control that. You can control where you throw it, and then with upgrades, you can actually control how many times you spin it around. So, yeah, you can have.
Okay.
It's pretty cool.
I thought it was like just pre-programmed. Once you've grabbed it,
no,
the AI takes over.
No, you can actually influence it. And of course, here he's having a little conversation with his favorite friend, Wilson Fisk. And here's another sense of he's definitely taunting Fisk a little bit as this is going on. So. And of course Fisk gets pretty angry once he realizes that Spider-Man has downloaded everything. So again, this is another example of being able to yank guys down.
It literally says yank enemies.
Yeah, and then so like right there, he grabbed. You can grab guys.
That's cool.
Yeah, you can do it in midair. And what's really cool, one of the moves I love is to punch a guy up in the air, and if you actually juggle him with your web shooters and then yank him down, because he has webs on him, he'll actually stick down to the ground.
You've really thought of everything.
We tried a lot, and there's, if you build up basically focus, that allows you to either use as health regenerate, or actually to do a finishing move. So, that's something you can also upgrade as the game goes on. So we also try to make sure every single time we introduce a new enemy type, we make sure that people understand what's going to be, what the threat is, and have little fun enemy intros with that.
So you're going to see different enemy types as the game goes through?
Yeah, a lot. We have a lot, depending on who the main villain is, or
nice.
We'll have a bunch, especially the inner demons have a bunch of different enemy types that you'll see introduced, and a lot of them use that. That's my favorite, when you actually juggle the guy in midair and then you pin him to the wall with your webs.
So the web shooter then, so obviously as you're using it, that bar is depleting. Yeah,
so basically what you do is as you rapid fire, they decrease, and then after time it refills. But you can actually upgrade that gadget so it has more shots at first, as well as how fast it recharges. So here's an element, like we said, we added more ability to parkour, so if there's an obstacle in his way, he just kind of runs over
really
it.
Smooth.
Yeah, and I mean, you can do that whether you're in this building here, or you're on a rooftop, or you're on the street level. You want to make sure you can also jump off a wall and punch a guy. So yeah, we want to make sure that there's a lot of different ways to take down enemies, and like I said, use the environment, whether you're grabbing it or actually using it as a launching off point to defeat enemies.
What are we seeing here? What's this little Spider-Man symbol on the left
next
to the combo meter?
Okay, so that's actually your focus bar. That's actually what you do. So as you do better in combat, you're building that focus bar, and you can either use it to gain back some health, or if you kind of have a full bar, you can use it to do a takedown move on an enemy. And those are pretty spectacular. They have cool cameras and stuff like that. So at this point, he thinks he's working with the police. He realizes something is up, and his classic spider sense goes off, and he realizes that Fisk has been working. These guys have been working they're on Fisk payroll, and again, so a new enemy type. Now we have a shielded enemy, and we teach you how to take him down.
So when we are upgrading, because obviously we're earning XP this whole time, we can unlock more combat moves as well as just gadgets? Yeah,
so the way we do it is earning XP gives you skill points. No skill points can learn it to new combat and traversal skills. And then doing stuff in the open world, those give you crafting currency, so you can spend on crafting new suits, suit powers, suit mods, and gadgets. So here's actually an intro to fighting Fisk. One thing we always talk about is Spider-Man having a sense of humor, using that to kind of either piss off the guy he's fighting or to calm himself down. And he's making a joke right here about don't forget to write in your memoirs, don't forget to put the hyphen between Spider and Man, which is a joke you hear online a lot. So yeah, we just want to make sure that...
Topical, I like that. It's a capital S in the middle of PlayStation. It's a hyphen between the spider and the man.
Exactly. So we want to make sure that we get that right. So this now leads to an epic fight between Fisk and Spider-Man. It's basically 8 years in the making.
We should say again, anyone's just watching this is still quite early on in the game.
This is literally the first mission in the game.
This is how epic you've got it from the beginning.
This is literally the first mission in the game, and I think the thing we wanted to do was, if we put someone like Wilson Fisk in the game, people, we wanted people to understand that, this is, after taking him down, Pete finally feels like, hey, now the city should be safe. I can kind of have more of a Peter Parker life. Still keep the city safe as Spider-Man, but hey, I have an opportunity now. Maybe, spend more time at work. Maybe talk about those relationships outside work a little bit more. But what he realizes that there's a scene that happens after this. After you, guess what? Spoiler alert: you defeat Fisk. And
otherwise, the game's really short.
And he says, Fisk says, in 1 month, you wish you had me back. And the truth is, it's actually he probably wishes Fisk was back, because it was a little bit. It was actually a safer city with Fisk in there rather than the inner demons, Mr. Negative, and eventually the Sinister Six.
Yeah, now you've shown some of the other bad guys off. Maybe at E3 we saw some as well. That was one of the big. Yeah, just not all of them from my understanding, just a few. But the nice thing, I suppose, is you can create your own world, which is what you've done, because this is a standalone universe and story. But I'm guessing you haven't really messed too much with the villains and stuff, so people still recognize?
Yeah, I would say that we want to make sure that we're being very respectful to the original artists and the writers who created these characters. We definitely take some liberties here and there to either modernize them or to put our own kind of little spin on them. But there should be no mistaking that's a Wilson Fisk. And so, another thing we've talked a lot about here is worlds colliding, Peter and Spider-Man's world colliding. And here you see early on in the game, you start to meet other people on Peter's life. So you meet Martin Lee, who at that point you only know as the guy who owns the feast shelters. Later he'll be revealed as Mr. Negative. Now you have Aunt May. And here's an example of they're throwing actually an anniversary party for May for working at a feast, and he's kind of trying to keep her distracted. So when you watch the cinematic, she's talking about MJ, and she's asking they have beautiful babies, and he freaks out. And those awkward moments that you expect from a Peter Parker experience really play out in the scene really, really well. And you start to kind of see, one thing is, a lot of people, when it comes to villains, we want them to have very believable motivations. And you see Martin Lee as a very good guy, a guy who's giving back to the community. But there's something driving him as Mr. Negative that's very personal, and you'll understand why he's doing what he's doing to the city, to Norman Osborn, as you play the game.
Now, do you play as Peter Parker and not as Spider-Man?
Yeah, you actually do. Yeah, you actually in this mission here, going to visit Feast on May. Before this cinematic even starts, you can walk around Feast, introduce yourself to people. If you're at the lab, you can talk. You can hang out with your mentor. There's different things at the lab you can do. So we'll have multiple missions playing as Peter, as obviously majority being Spider-Man, but we also want you to show the Peter Parker side of his life and go beyond just cutscenes. Cool. And same thing with MJ. MJ will be a playable character in the game as well. There'll be certain missions throughout the main story where she'll be playable, and she has her own gameplay mechanics, and we'll be introducing new mechanics as you go further in the game with her.
I look forward to seeing the B-roll on that one.
I don't.
You're like, maybe you can wait till launch.
Yeah, you can wait till launch on that one. I think. I don't think we have any B-roll on MJ.
Well, thank you very much for talking us through some of this footage. I really appreciate it. I know Dave got hands-on and really enjoyed it. We're going to have more coming up on Spider-Man on the channel, so please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because you don't want to miss anything from the world of PlayStation.
For the players.